because my next guest just testified before a federal grand jury. He says he was in possession of a trove of digital evidence from Diddy's freak-offs and parties.
Combs' legal team vehemently denied the accusations on his behalf, while the rapper continues to be held in a Brooklyn jail since September, awaiting his May 20.
The story of Sean Diddy Combs and his mother, Janice, delves into family dynamics, legacy, and an unconventional upbringing. Recently, rumors have emerged suggesting Janice's possible involvement in her son's turbulent life, sparking speculation about her role in the scandals surrounding Diddy. Whispers claim the FBI may have taken Janice into custody, alleging she helped orchestrate or enabled some of the actions that landed Diddy in the spotlight. The question remains, how much did Janice know, and could she have influenced her son's choices? This complex, messy, and shocking story continues to captivate and intrigue.
Well, certainly there's a lot of information that needs to be substantiated, investigated, and those kinds of things. But when we look at people who become offenders, we oftentimes see early exposure to whether that's or actual behavior, and we oftentimes see that within the family.
To understand how we got here, we must look back to Sean Combs' childhood in Mount Vernon, New York. Raised by his determined single mother, Janice, a former model and teacher's assistant, Sean was given all the love and opportunities she could offer. After losing her husband, Melvin, in the early 1970s, Janice took charge, vowing to protect her son from the hardships of life. However, new allegations have emerged suggesting that the environment Sean grew up in wasn't as shielded from darker truths as Janice had hoped, raising questions about the foundation of his troubled past.
That kind of environment growing up in is going to have an impact on a child growing up. Now, it doesn't make excuses for what people do in adulthood, and the form that can take really depends on a lot of different things, including things such as what are the family values? Are the family values about, being open and honest about things, or if there's trauma in a family, do families deal with it, or how is that child raised?
Insiders and a recent documentary reveal that Sean's childhood home wasn't as perfect as it seemed. Janice often hosted lively, extravagant gatherings, with guests from all walks of life ranging from Harlem's streets to the world of glamour and excess. While young Sean was typically kept out of the spotlight, the energy and chaos of these events left a lasting impression on him.
I think another question that we just can't ignore is the role of power. Because one question is, how does somebody become the way they are? And then another question is, how are they allowed to stay the way that they are? And I think that also speaks to this kind of, lack of accountability.
Tim Patterson, a childhood friend of Shaw's, shared revealing stories in the Peacock documentary Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy. He described Janice's parties as chaotic, with people lounging in various states of undress, loud music blasting, and an atmosphere of reckless indulgence. For young Sean and his friends, it was just another Saturday night. However, Patterson now believes these experiences desensitized them to certain behaviors and blurred the lines of what was considered acceptable.
So pretty early in the proceedings, I think it's only been about a month or a month and a half since he's been arraigned and held in detention. And so the investigations are always going to be a continuous and ongoing process. I'm sure at this point there's been an exchange of discovery. And not only that, but I think there's been a gag order placed on the attorneys with information that they can and cannot share. But more importantly,
this environment may offer insight into Diddy's later years, particularly the infamous freak-offs described in court documents. These events allegedly mirrored the wild atmosphere of Janice's house parties, marked by excess, blurred boundaries, and a similar cast of colorful characters. While Janice has firmly denied any wrongdoing or influence on her son's adult life, the striking similarities between Diddy's notorious gatherings and those from his youth raise significant questions.
We're monitoring another push to free Sean Diddy Combs tonight, with his legal team citing new evidence in an updated bail proposal. The music mogul agreeing to around-the-clock security and cutting out contact with basically anyone but his legal team to get out of jail ahead of his trial scheduled for May of next year for charges he allegedly coerced and abused women for years.
One of the most striking revelations from Patterson's account was the diverse mix of people who frequented the Combs household during those parties. He recalled how Shaw grew up surrounded by individuals from both glamorous circles and more dangerous ones. Patterson hinted at moments when they would stumble into private rooms and witness things no child should see, painting a picture of a boy thrust into an adult world far too soon, one where boundaries seemed non-existent. Patterson now wonders if this early exposure to indulgence set the stage for Diddy's controversial lifestyle later. Despite Janice's fierce protectiveness, working tirelessly to put him in private school and moving the family to a safer neighborhood, it's clear that the duality of Shah's life, with its polished exterior of a private education and the chaotic weekends at home, created a complex foundation for the man he would become.
Then if he does this new, quote, robust bail package, you can avoid and evade. And he is very connected with people that can help him avoid and evade. I'm not saying he will, but I would be surprised if the court grants him a bond. When the federal government wants you detained, you are normally detained. And here it was a very far-reaching situation that he was involved.
Sean has often spoken about how his mother's sacrifices inspired him, crediting Janice with teaching him the value of hard work and resilience. However, he's also shared moments from his early years that hint at a more complex reality. In one interview, he recalled seeking attention from women as young as 4 or 5, attributing this to when his mother's friends would cradle him on their laps. While he framed these memories as innocent awakenings, critics argue they reflect how early exposure to adult behaviors may have shaped his perceptions and relationships later in life. This glimpse into his childhood suggests a blurred line between innocence and adult influences.
So remember when I said Diddy mother might be the originator of the freak-offs? All right, so apparently tomorrow there's the Peacock is dropping. The Diddy documentary is called Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, and the doc gets into Diddy's childhood and his experience growing up in connection to the lawsuit and assault allegations he's currently facing.
As Shah grew older, he carved out a path that mirrored the chaos of his upbringing. Like his mother's home, his adult life became defined by extravagant parties and larger-than-life personas, building an empire around indulgence. However, recent allegations suggest that the line between celebration and exploitation may have dangerously blurred in the process.
That's it. If it is privilege, of course they won't. But if it really is what the prosecution says, that has nothing to do with the case, or even worse, it's actually evidence of witness tampering, because we all know the attorney-client privilege, there's a crime fraud exception. You can't use your lawyer to perpetuate a future or continuing fraud or crime. So if the documents are what the government says they are, they're going to get them again. And again, it's just going to be a matter of days, because I don't expect.
The links between Janice's rumored arrest and the allegations against Diddy remain unclear. While there's been no official confirmation, the speculation has added complexity to an already tangled story. Did Janice know about her son's alleged activities? Did her own past parties set a precedent for the behaviors he's now accused of? These questions have fueled recent gossip.
So there's a few things going on. First is the privilege issue. The judge will decide whether the documents are privileged or not. If they're not, they're going to go to the government. If the documents are not only not privileged, but they're evidence of witness tampering, then a few things can happen, all of which are bad for Sean Diddy Combs. First, of course, he could face obstruction of justice charges in a superseding indictment.
Throughout this ordeal, Janice has been vocal in defending her son, calling the allegations against Diddy a public lynching and urging the public to reserve judgment until all facts are revealed. In her statement, she acknowledged Sean's imperfections and past mistakes, but stopped short of directly addressing the more serious accusations. Critics have pointed out that her defense seems to balance between support and denial, leaving room for interpretation. As new details emerge, attention has shifted to Diddy's upbringing and its potential impact on his adult life. On the surface, his childhood appeared ideal: private school, little league, and a well-dressed young boy. But beneath this polished exterior was a world of chaos and contradiction. Patterson's accounts, along with Diddy's own admissions about his early experiences, reveal a boy caught between two worlds, one of structure and opportunity, and another of unrestrained indulgence, setting the stage for his complex future.
According to the Rolling Stone, the doc features an alleged childhood friend of Puff's, hip-hop producer Tim Dog Patterson. He alleged that Janice, Diddy's mom, would often throw parties at Diddy's childhood home. He says that during the parties, it wasn't uncommon to walk into rooms where adults was having that was just their normal.
The lasting impact of Diddy's childhood experiences is difficult to quantify, but the parallels to his adult life are undeniable. Themes of freedom, excess, and blurred boundaries run through both, linking the boy from Mount Vernon to the mogul now in a Brooklyn detention center. While it's unclear whether Janice's rumored arrest will reveal concrete evidence of her involvement, the speculation surrounding it has already ignited intense discussion.
Live, a judge has denied bail for Sean Diddy Combs. Of course, this was the hip-hop mogul's latest bid for freedom as he remains in federal jail for his racketeering and trafficking case.
The story of Sean Diddy Combs and the controversies surrounding him isn't just about one man, it's about a complex network of relationships, systems, and individuals whose roles in his world remain as murky as they are fascinating. The question isn't only what Diddy did or didn't do, but who may have enabled him, who turned a blind eye, and who is speaking out now that the empire he built is crumbling. This isn't just the fall of a music mogul, it's a web of connections that stretches back decades, from those closest to him to the people now at the center of lawsuits and criminal investigations. Diddy's orbit over the years has included a wide range of associates, childhood friends, high-profile executives, romantic partners, and employees who've described working for him as chaotic. Tim Patterson, a childhood friend, has given vivid accounts of their early years together, but it's his more recent revelations that have raised questions about his role in Diddy's world. Was Patterson just a bystander, or did he inadvertently play a part in enabling the behaviors he now appears to condemn? That's a question the public, and perhaps investigators, are still grappling with as more details emerge.
Not buying it all, Kana, and safety can mean a couple of different things. Safety just doesn't mean free from harm of violence. Safety can also, too, mean emotional and mental dynamics that could occur by Sean Combs reaching out to potential witness to get them to possibly.
Diddy's inner circle of employees, including former bodyguards, assistants, and chefs, have come forward with alarming accounts of what happened behind closed doors. One of the most shocking comes from Roger Bonds, a former bodyguard, who claims to have witnessed Diddy's violent temper, including an incident involving Cassie Ventura. Bonds stepped in to defuse the situation. While he has been vocal about his experiences, others in Diddy's camp remain hesitant to speak out. Some fear retaliation, while others are believed to have been complicit in covering up questionable behavior. The silence has raised more questions about the truth.
Both sides in the Sean Diddy Combs case have until today to give answers for how the music mogul has been communicating from jail. Combs appearing in court last Friday seeking bail while he awaits trial. He's been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since September.
The lawsuits against Diddy reveal disturbing details about his relationships with former romantic partners and employees. Cassie Ventura, who was in a high-profile relationship with Diddy for over a decade, was one of the first to file a lawsuit, triggering a cascade of similar claims. Her accusations of manipulation and exploitation have been echoed by others who have since come forward. What makes these allegations even more damning is the sheer volume. Over 40 civil lawsuits have been filed, with more expected to follow. Tony Busby, a prominent attorney representing many accusers, has described these claims as part of a decades-long pattern. According to Busby, those speaking out include both men and women, many of whom allege they were coerced or pressured into compromising situations, adding gravity to the charges.
This is video of Diddy's family arriving to court for last Friday's hearing. Prosecutors arguing that he misused prison systems in an attempt to tamper with potential witnesses, and they say they have proof. Diddy used other inmates' phone cards or used three-way calls with friends to contact associates that prosecutors consider to be a part.
In addition to the lawsuits, Diddy is facing criminal charges, including conspiracy and coercion, which could result in serious penalties if convicted. Prosecutors have described his vast business empire as a front for alleged manipulation and exploitation. A key piece of evidence is the so-called freak-offs, described by former attendees as elaborate and unsettling. The allegations suggest these events weren't just about indulgence, they were about control, with detailed accounts of individuals allegedly being pressured into participating. The charges have only added to the growing scrutiny surrounding him.
The defense denying these claims and is pushing for his release under strict conditions, including a $50 million bond and 24/7 monitoring at a secured Manhattan apartment. There will be a hearing today where both sides will have a chance to clarify exactly how Combs has been connecting with the world outside his jail cell.
The question of who else might be implicated in the events surrounding Diddy looms large. While he is undeniably the central figure, it's clear that he didn't operate alone. Reports suggest that certain members of his inner circle actively helped organize and facilitate gatherings like the so-called freak-offs. Others may have been aware of what was happening but chose to stay silent. The full extent of their involvement remains unclear, but it's evident that Diddy's empire wasn't a one-man operation. If it was built on indulgence and power, then many helped him maintain it. One of the more unsettling aspects of this story is the involvement of individuals initially drawn to Diddy because of his charisma and influence. Take Kat Pon, a former romantic partner, who recently came forward with her own allegations. Pon recalled moments that left her questioning the man she thought she knew, including a chilling comment Diddy allegedly made about a controversial figure in the music industry while watching a documentary. Pon said the comment unsettled her, but it wasn't until later that she fully understood its implications. Her account, like many others, raises troubling questions about how Diddy's behavior was perceived by those closest to him and why so many remained silent for so long.
Talking about the parties, Tim says, verbatim, that's what we were privy to. This was what we were fed. Was it desensitizing us? I'm sure it was. Were we aware of it? No, that was just Saturday night. In the doc, per Rolling Stone, this type of childhood is alleged to be why Tim, the longtime friend of Diddy's, Puff believes that Puff found himself in the position he is in now.
The lawsuits and criminal charges against Diddy have sparked a wave of revelations about his past, while shining a light on the broader culture of the entertainment industry. Many accusers have described feeling trapped in a system that valued power and profit over accountability. This isn't just about Diddy, it's about an industry long accused of enabling bad behavior. The key question now is whether this moment will lead to meaningful change or fade away like so many scandals before.
You know, if you say the wrong thing or you complain or you know, I don't know, there's an element where you're just, I guess manipulated in a way to make you feel like, oh, you have to please everyone around you. You can't say anything wrong. You don't want to say a bad thing, or, you know, when they're constantly asking, would you like to do drugs? And you're like, well, I don't do drugs. And they're like, well, why don't you do drugs?
Experts have weighed in on the bleak future that may await Diddy, with the outlook not looking promising. If convicted on the criminal charges, he could face significant prison time, potentially up to life. Even if he avoids a conviction, the damage to his reputation and career may be irreversible. Legal analysts have pointed out that the sheer number of lawsuits and the severity of the allegations make this one of the most high-profile cases in recent memory. Some speculate that Diddy's legal team may try to settle as many civil cases as possible to avoid prolonged public scrutiny, but that strategy carries its own risks. Settling could be viewed as an admission of guilt and may do little to repair his tarnished image. The fallout from these allegations isn't just affecting Diddy, it's also impacting those once closely associated with him. Former collaborators, business partners, and even friends have distanced themselves in recent months. Some have issued public statements condemning his alleged behavior, while others have quietly severed ties. The ripple effect of this scandal is far-reaching, impacting everyone from employees at his companies to celebrities who were once part of his inner circle.
The flight was always going to be a tough argument for the government because obviously Combs voluntarily came to New York. He surrendered his passports through his lawyer. He could have fled after the March raids of his Miami and Los Angeles homes, but he didn't. He has access to 2 private jets. I think it was a tougher argument. I know the government made the argument, but clearly the best argument was the dangerousness and the witness tampering. They had much more evidence.
As the situation unfolds, one of the biggest questions is whether Diddy's empire can survive. Bad Boy Records, once a powerhouse in the music industry, has already been overshadowed by newer labels and artists. Diddy's other ventures in fashion and media are also at risk, with the allegations casting a shadow over his entire brand. It remains unclear if it can ever recover. For a man who built his career on being larger than life, the possibility of losing everything must be a bitter pill to swallow. Yet perhaps the most compelling aspect of this story is the human element, the individuals who have come forward to share their experiences, often at great personal risk. Their courage has sparked a broader conversation about accountability and power, one that extends far beyond Diddy's specific case. Whether or not he is ultimately found guilty, their stories have already made a lasting impact, forcing the industry to confront its complicity in allowing such behaviors to persist.
Is illustrating is this completely out of control party on a super yacht, including various celebrities, that when you read it, kind of rings true. I mean, when you read it, it doesn't come off as being something that's completely unbelievable. You have to take into consideration that
as the trial date approaches, the world will be watching closely to see how this story unfolds. Will more people come forward? Can Diddy's legal team poke holes in the prosecution's case? And what will happen to those who were once part of his inner circle? These unanswered questions continue to fuel the conversation. For now, all we can do is wait and see what the next chapter brings. As the saga of Diddy Combs and his mother, Janice, continues, viewers are left with even more questions. How much did Janice truly know about her son's controversial lifestyle, and could her influence have shaped his choices? Additionally, what role did Diddy's chaotic childhood environment play in his adult life? The line between celebration and exploitation appears increasingly blurred, and the public is eager to weigh in. What are your thoughts on Janice's alleged involvement? Do you think Diddy's upbringing set the stage for his later controversies? Share your opinions in the comments below, and stay tuned for more updates.